Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. So perhaps I'm being picked up through this microphone to see if we can do some recording. So today we get the big announcement. It has its own feast name, the Feast of the Annunciation, the announcement to Mary. And I saw something today, and maybe it's too subtle for it, but it tickled me, is when Gabriel's making his pitch to Mary, I mean, first she's just perplexed why she's even being greeted. She doesn't necessarily respond with fear. But then the angel says, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you found favor with God. You'll conceive in your womb and bear a son." And then he goes on and says that he's going to be great. He's going to he'll be from the throne of David. He'll reign over the house of Jacob. There'll be a kingdom with no end. Mary doesn't hear any of that because her response is, "How's this going to happen? I'm a virgin." She didn't get anywhere past the "you're going to have the baby" part. And that's where she goes right back to. And what it makes me think about is we give this Sunday to a remembrance of Mary's place in the story of salvation, is that she's just saying, okay, all right, well, you know, I'm really young, I'm engaged, and an angel is telling me all these things are going to happen. So, all right, okay, here I am, being a good young girl brought up to do her religious duties. She says yes to God. And then the angel just gives her a little bit of family gossip to top it all off. Oh, and by the way, your relative Elizabeth is also pregnant. She's 6 months along. And her son's going to have something to do with all of this too. Because through several places in the Old Testament, at least starting with the story of Abraham and Sarah, there are several definitive moments that are marked by barren women bearing children. Sarah being way ancient was the first of those, and she marks a place where, in order for God's plan to move forward, somebody has to believe something that's totally impossible. Somebody is called into doing something that makes no sense. Noah, I'd like you to build a boat to hold all the animals in the world. Okay. Moses, I would like you to go back and get in Pharaoh's face and tell him to let my people go. Okay. Could go on and on. David, we can't seem to make any progress in this war because there's this big giant on the other side that scared everybody into their trench and nobody will fight him. Where's my slingshot? You see, over and over again, God does things through the most improbable people and through the most improbable means. I guess it's sort of a way for God to show that not all things are just random circumstances. That there is a purpose moving and flowing in and around and through creation that has some end in sight. Way beyond our sight, perhaps, But in the midst of it, there is this continual redeeming action of God, showing up time after time after time. Sometimes showing up to say, you have been really wicked, and it's going to cost you. But a lot of times he's showing up saying, you've suffered enough. How can I redeem you or save you? How can I heal you? And whether it was about healing the social structures of Israel and the power relationships and the economics of things, or whether it had to do with introducing and allowing foreign gods to take hold among the people, all those struggles, there is this movement of God towards redemption. Now we know it doesn't happen in every time, place, and circumstance, or that is to say, some things we just can't quite make sense of. We could only make sense if we could see it from God's view. But making sense of being pregnant in a culture where virginity clearly is highly valued, I don't know how many times that's said, at least 3 times in that little reading, the value put upon making sure that the child of a woman was of the seed of the real father. Paternity could only be guaranteed by purity, basically, of the woman, not necessarily of the man. Whether that's good or bad or indifferent, or what its moral connotations are, the thing is that it's an utterly improbable thing to her that she's going to bear a son, because in the medical model of her day, the woman was a passive vessel. The only thing that made life was what came from the man. There was no knowledge of the woman providing the egg and any of the kind of biology we know. And so the woman was sort of, she was interchangeable with any other vessel, because the child was going to be from the man. That was their medical model. So in a sense, she's being asked to be a vessel who does not know that she's going to contribute the humanity of Jesus to his life. She will provide his human reality. She will form it in her womb. She will anticipate birth. She will probably experience the fear of a young woman facing her first childbirth. She'll be wondering, are we going to survive? She'll be wondering in this moment, who will take care of us? Because this is sure going to cause a scandal. That word is actually used in the Greek to describe this situation. Skandalon is the Greek word. And then there's the other part for Mary, and I'll just throw this in, is somewhere along the line when she was changing whatever the first century version of a diaper, whenever she was doing that, or he was crying to be fed one more time, and she must have thought, you know, if he's supposed to be a king and all of this, where's the nanny, the cook, and the maid? You know, this doesn't look much like raising a prince or a son of God. Mary, how many meals did she make for Jesus? As he stayed home, he wasn't even the boomerang kid. He never left. He was home till he was 30. I don't know if they had a basement in their house or what, but so Mary's feeding, clothing, taking care of, you know, as he grows and becomes a man and works with his father. You know, she's the one who's home when they come home from work that has to have food. She probably cleans their clothes by hand, maybe pounding on a rock, and who knows. But Mary's life was not after this moment of great drama and angels and shepherds and choirs in heaven. It was 30 years of raising Jesus and being a mother, having other children, raising them. So whether her sainthood is more from having said, "Here am I," or whether it's in the 30 years of faithfully being Jesus' mother, you know, the dramatic moments are great in the spiritual life. When the skies open up, we have that direct connection with God, when we see an angel, when we experience a moment of incredible grace. We just so want to stay in that moment. And yet they pass. And in between them are dishes and meals and clothes to wash and jobs to do, kids to raise. And in many ways, what Mary really should represent to us is the person who just makes a home for her family, and that's what makes her holy. This could be a Mother's Day speech, but there's some truth to that when I think about my mother at this Christmas time, as how many meals did she feed me? And I think each one made her just a little bit holier. And that too is where Mary represents to us both the ecstatic experience of God and the daily work that doesn't even bother getting put in the Bible. 30 years of Jesus not in there. But Mary was working every day of those 30 years to sustain him until his moment came. So she is a worthy saint for us to remember at this time of the year. May we have a blessed finish to our Advent this morning and a joyous entry into the time of Christmas this evening.